Okay, I'm just gonna jump the gun a little bit. I love Phase 3. Yeah, it's my favorite phase. It has my favorite Gorillaz album, Plastic Beach, and it's just wonderful. Okay? Alright, I'm Coco, by the way. And hopefully you watched the other two videos because now we're on Phase 3. Thank you guys, by the way, for all the support on the series so far. The Phase 2 video, I think, is our most viewed not short video. So, thank you guys so much. Phase 3, is the most, I guess, cartoony with the lore and story, I guess. Unlike the more realistic stuff that happens to the characters in the earlier phases. The entire album is made up of songs about environmental issues and very sad love songs. So, I mean, yeah, it's pretty fire. But being completely honest, the art style isn't too different from Phase 2. I mean, there are definitely some pretty big differences, but overall it's not as much of a switch between art styles like Phase 1 to Phase 2, or some of the other ones in the future. Nevertheless, we will be discussing all the art style thingies, and also I will be attempting to, of course, draw myself in said art style. So, yeah, let's just dive right in.
'Cause you are my medicine when you're close to me. When you're close to me.
Phase 3 was in 2010, so around 5 years after Phase 2. Here's a fun fact about Plastic Beach and Phase 3 in general. It was meant to be a completely different project Damon Albarn and Jamie Hewlett were gonna do. Yeah, they didn't really want to do another Gorillaz album, so it was meant to be a project called Carousel. If you want to learn more about Carousel, then you should watch this video that will go way more into detail than I will here. But to make a long story short, it was just too out there and way too expensive, so they just made another Gorillaz album. Womp womp. And my god, am I glad. Anyways, the art style, again, just gets less cartoony and more realistic, which is a recurring development between phases. But again, it's not too different from Phase 2. Body proportions mostly stayed the same, besides some character design changes, like Noodle looking more adult now because, well, she's an adult. Russell being giant for lore reasons, and Murdoch has a longer face now. Also, everyone has elf ears now for some reason. I'm starting to realize that these are more like character design analysis videos. But, you know, too late now to change the name. The thicker lines on the outside and thinner lines on the inside thing is even more subtle, and the line weight changes within its own line are much more prominent now. The major thing with the line art in this phase is the more scratchy, hand-drawn look to it. And this phase also has an abundance of hatch marks to show shadows, giving it even more of a hand-drawn look, which, you know, I'm all for. The facial features mostly stayed the same, except for the noses look a little bit different now. And yo! We got more art of eyes! Let's go! We now have plenty of art of Noodle and Cyborg Noodle, where their eyes are visible, so yippee! Unlike Phase 2, they do not have irises anymore, and are just white and pupil. Okay, weird side tangent time. There have been instances in the past where 2D's eyes have been white, or like he has a pupil or iris for some reason, even though his eyes are meant to be black. But in Phase 3, his eyes are white a lot more of the time than normal. Obviously they're most of the time black, but I don't know. Jamie has a weird thing with drawing the character's eyes different than what they should be, specifically with 2D. Anyways, again, details with the face didn't change that much, except it just looks slightly more realistic with the eye bags and wrinkles and such. Hair hasn't changed that much. It still retains the same type of shape, but 2D's hair changes color a bit like every phase, so I guess that's different. And hands basically stayed the same also. Shading still has the usual use of the airbrush and also hard shading, with shading again just becoming more realistic with the placement and it being used more abundantly. And same can be said with the highlights. We have the added effect of hatch marking, like I said before, but in some of the art it looks like the coloring was done with like watercolors or paints. So that's pretty cool. I can appreciate that with this phase you can see more traditional type of art being used. Even though I'm not completely sure if Jamie hand drew any of these. But you might get the lingering feeling that phase 3 almost seems kind of unfinished. Not just with the art, but like in general with the lore and the album and stuff like that. And well, you'd be right. Again, I'm not going to go super in depth with this due to some budget constraints that were put on Jamie Hewlett led to a lot of Plastic Beach and Phase 3 content either being unfinished and or never seeing the light of day. Like, for example, the Rhinestone Eyes music video had its production cut only a few weeks of being made, so we only have the storyboard. All of this budgetary restraints and stuff led to the actual falling out of Damon and Jamie Hewlett, and they split up, leading to the band having a 7-year hiatus until the next phase. This led to people back in the day thinking that Gorillaz was not going to make any more music during this time. Thankfully, they did come back. But it's sad to see that this phase couldn't have been fully what it wanted to be. But, you know, I still think it's great nonetheless. Okay, side tangent over. Clothing and everything in general still have that boxy, sharp, angular look, and hatch marks are used sometimes to show wrinkles. Colors of this phase have this weird mix of dingy colors and bright colors. The main color palette mostly uses orangey reds and bright greens, and the shading mostly uses brownish colors. Honestly, kind of love the weird color palette. It gives the correct vibes for this phase, I feel like. Alright, people, it's that time again. I'm sorry, I don't know why I said it like that. I'm losing my mind. Anyways, this freaking piece of art took like 5 hours to finish. It was so much trial and error trying to make it look decent because I freaking hate myself. Anyways, I use Noodle mostly as a reference for the body and also the eyes. I decided to make my outfit kind of sailor themed by giving myself a large raincoat and boots. You know, because I'm just a cutie patootie like that. Also, I attempted to draw a lantern, but it's, extremely wonky, so just don't look at it, okay? Before I've been giving myself a mostly neutral looking expression and pose, but I decided to make myself look nervous because if I was stuck on a floating island of trash that was being attacked by airplane pirates, I probably would be a little scared. I also made my glasses broken because cool. I tried to make the line art detailed and sketchy looking and also added probably a little bit too much hatch marking, but that's probably the reason why this took 5 hours to make, because I spent freaking way too long on the line art, but you know, we made it at the end, I think, hopefully. Anyways, I struggled a lot with the wrinkles because, you know, this phase is pretty detailed and, you know, there are wrinkles and I've been avoiding doing wrinkles for the past 2 phases and I just, you know, was like, suck it up and freaking draw the wrinkles. So yeah, I spent like 30 minutes trying to make it freaking look good because I'm not that great of an artist, but you know, it turned out okay, I think. When trying to do the shading, I tried to layer it to make it kind of look like watercolor, but it did not translate that well, really, so just pretend, I guess. And I also just used the airbrush tool for shading and some highlights, because, yes, overall, just tried to make it look detailed and hand-drawn looking, which is hard to do, because this is not hand-drawn, this is using digital art, so it's kind of difficult, not gonna lie. I even added back the original sketch at low opacity, behind the actual drawing. So, if you care, I did that, you know, and then at the end I just splatted myself in front of a plastic beach drawing, and, yeah, we're done. Okay, and even though I did complain a lot that this took way too long to make, and it was very difficult. I gotta say, I do think these drawings keep getting better and better. And maybe it's because this is my favorite phase, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to top this drawing, especially because I am extremely worried for how I'm gonna draw phase 4, but we're gonna cross that bridge when we get there. So, I guess we'll have to wait and see. Thank you guys so much for watching and giving support on these videos. These took a lot of effort and time because I'm like always busy. So, yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see y'all later. And like and subscribe. Okay, I'll actually say goodbye now. So, bye bye!
Love you. Okay? Love you. Bye bye.